Question: do you think, in a logical and practical manner, if I were to ask you that if you were able to save 8 meals a month without even trying, don't you think logically that would automatically reduce your grocery bill? Yes or no? Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jan. Welcome to another episode on this channel, the Save Money and More with Jan channel. I effortlessly, notice the word, effortlessly save money every single month by doing the following. I am extremely mindful of my meal planning, what I'm going to do during the week. I don't mean in a write it down and it has to be spaghetti on Monday and meatloaf on Tuesday kind of thing, although for some people that works. What I mean by that is that I work with what I already have. And this is where a lot of people fall into the gray area and ignore that. For example, let's say I do make that meatloaf, right? Well, what I like to do every time is I portion it out for as many meals as I could get. And with that, I may take one or two slices, put it away in a separate container for future use. Now, let's say I make a roast chicken. For sure, I get tons and tons of value out of one roast chicken. It's just unbelievable how many things you could get out of a roast chicken. But sometimes people get neglectful. They don't wrap up the chicken properly. They leave it down the refrigerator too long. It sours and it goes to waste, and we don't like that. Rather than that, I make darn tootin' sure that on the very night, the first night that I roast that chicken, that I clean it off as much as I can, pack it up, and put it away. These are not hard things to do, and we have to tend to that chicken anyway. It's got to get cleaned out before it goes to the trash. Am I right? Or am I right? To the garbage, right? There you go. Now, that's just two examples, okay? Let's say I make a tray of baked ziti. Well, if I'm right then and there making one tray of baked ziti, suppose I make a tray and a half. I'm still there. A smaller tray, again, wrap it up, put it away in the freezer for future use. Usually a tray of ziti lasts on its own, in my case, for quite a long time, and I portion it out. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. Let's say that I make some pork chops. I don't make pork very often, but when I do, I like a nice, good center cut pork chop. Okay. Let's say I bake up a few of those. Well, not going to eat a whole pound of pork chops on my own. So, what I would like to do is take a couple of them out, couple to eat, couple of them out. Guess what I do? Wrap it up and put it away for future use. You see, here's the thing. You could always match up a protein, let's say like chicken or pork chop it up small, and you could make fried rice out of it. You could do a stir fry out of it. You could enter it into a soup from those items. Yes, you can. Next, when it comes to ground beef, I could prepare meatballs slash or meatloaf at the same time. Basically the same ingredients, different shapes, different things you could do with it. Ground beef is one of those things that you really can have a lot of choices. You could do chili like that, miniature meatballs for future soups and stews, or for, let's say, meatball parmesan or a sub for the weekend. Instead of ordering a pizza, make a beautiful hero, as some people call it around here, a hero, or some people call it a sub, and place those beautifully prepared meatballs, homemade, delicious, with your own favorite toppings and so on and so forth. Instead of pizza, I like it with tomato sauce and shredded mozzarella. Tastes practically like pizza anyway, except I'm getting the added bonus of some extra protein with the beef. Putting it on some nice toasted Italian bread or French bread or whatever bread that you have on hand that you enjoy. These are definitely ways to increase meals and increase meal options. This is how we get to save. This is how I don't have to pick up the phone and have something delivered. This is a way to not have to jump in a car. Even though the gas prices are down, just because prices are going down doesn't mean I have to be reckless about it. I still could avoid extra trips to places when I don't need the food. And in my opinion, nothing beats the taste of homemade meatballs anyway. the way I like them. It all depends. You can make a big batch of macaroni and cheese. These things freeze well. Pasta dinners freeze really well. And another thing, we tend to overeat a little bit too much around here. I have noticed that a lot of people do. It's a bad habit because portion sizes have absolutely increased since back in the day. And we could break that habit on our own. Yes, the bird clock. How do we do that? We are determined. We get smaller containers. Oh, let it roll for a second. Because even though you hear it faintly, I hear it loudly. Okay, bird clock. No, but honestly, this is how it really works. If we get smaller containers, portion things out smaller, less calories, could spread out the meals for even longer. And guess what? Eventually, that adds money to your pocket for the next time you go around shopping. There would also be no gap in between. Some people live paycheck to paycheck. In fact, many people do. And they find themselves really, really low pantry wise right before payday. Those 2 days before you get your check may feel incessant if you're low on everything. But if we are mindful, see, this is where being mindful comes in really handy. If we are mindful in the beginning times of the month, when things are more plentiful, then we look ahead. Always look ahead, and I'll just call it to the last week of the month. That's just an example. Someone else's last week of the month may be someone else's middle week of the month. You see where I'm going with this. But it's all about a forethought. Does it really take that long to portion things out? Well, how can you make sure that you get those 8 meals? I look at it this way. If I save 8 meals, right, and usually there are two, I'm just going to say two portions per average for 8 meals. That means two people literally could eat off of those 8 meals. That means literally there are 16 servings. Okay, there may be 8 meals. You see where I'm going with that? Of spaghetti and meatballs, for example, but have enough there for two people. This is an incredible savings on your groceries over time. All we have to do is learn how to cut back and make the most of what we do have. For example, certain staples definitely help add and stretch to make life easier in that arena. Don't forget to pick up the rice. You don't have to buy the expensive dehydrated type of rice. Don't get me wrong, I like it myself. I know it's convenient and you know it comes out perfectly every time. That is true. That is true. But with a little bit of practice, you could get so much more out of that 1 2 pound bag of rice that you do from scratch. But those items are so helpful. And if you're not a fan of that, you could get the box rice, like those rice-a-roni type of rices when they go on sale. They make a great side dish filling, or you can use it as part of the main dish with some of the food leftovers that you have. Remember those two pork chops I suggested in the beginning of the show? Well, you could take one down, chop it up into small pieces, do a stir fry of some sort. You could even add that rice-a-roni type of rice to it. Make something different. Make your own type of topping or own type of sauce. You would be shocked and extremely amazed at how delicious things can come.